Good evening, everybody. Fiona Hooper here again with another edition of the Poetry of Painting. And so this evening, we're actually talking about an acrylic painting for a change that I did. My normal medium is oils, and I love working with knives in oils, but more about that in a little while. And so this evening's painting is acrylic behind me, which was painted with brushes. And the poet who has written what will be, I'm sure, another beautiful poem about it is my good friend Martin, who is not sitting down yet. I think he just went to look for his glasses. So as soon as he's ready, there we go. I shall bring him onto the stream. So Martin, hello, how are you?
Hi Fiona, I'm good, thank you.
Good
to be back on the show.
Oh, it's lovely to have you back. I love your poetry, and dying to hear what you're going to say about this painting. So it's, yeah, as I say, this one's acrylic. It's 40 by 60 centimetres. And, oh, Chris has said, hi, Fiona, nice to be with us both again. Thank you, Chris. Great to have you on board.
Hi,
Chris. Thanks to everybody who watches either live now or on replay. We've got some more people coming on live at the moment. Thank you. Great to have you along. Do make some comments, put questions, and we'll do our best to answer them or acknowledge them. That would be lovely. So shall we move on to the poem, Martin? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay, so I'll put the painting up on the screen so people can see it a bit better than just behind me there. Yep. And it's called Estuary Reflections. And let's hear what Martin's poem says about it.
Thank you, Fiona. Estuary Reflections. As peach day fades in time to end, crossed quiet bay, sun-brushed fields slope to sheltered seas, where bright-sailed yachts in summer harbour, where hungry, piping waders gather, where seals in season slip from sea and crawl to bathe in golden bays, and beyond the battered headland silent screams, a distant thin-drawn line marked the edge of gilded sea and golden space it mirrored. As cold night stole day's warm cheer, and moon smiled on quiet tide, weary pink-tinged clouds slowly drifting, reflected on wet flaxen sand. From distant Har I heard a gull, like the faint chill chime of a ghost ship's bell, and drawn from dream to edge of that vast sound, breathed the brackish scent of ocean, blown to shore on quiet breeze. And in that bay's calm I sat reflecting, what gift to have in busy life, time to sit and quiet stare, from ashen autumn drift undisturbed, to bronze in my time's distant past, like quilted mist, freed by breeze from secret hill, reveals the mountain's beauty. This lucid new awakening, stirred in soul memories long hid in mist of time. And laud I must, for the man I am is formed of kin. In them is me, in me is them, though gone in memory exist forever. And sat in quiet contemplation above the flaming waves of silent shores, wrapped in view and sense of precious time. From busy mind I grasp those long mistreasured moments, clutch hard to chest, and by my beating heart forever hold them. Thank you.
Oh, magical. Absolutely magical. The poem just sort of went off on a beautiful pathway that, just, what am I trying to say? It just made so much more of the painting. It's wonderful. And,
Thank you.
On the flaxen sands and the wonderful descriptions and how how it's affecting somebody sitting there and how they feel, not just what you're seeing in the painting. It's wonderful. Oh, Chris says, what a beautiful poem. Love the line about the wading birds. Absolutely. Brilliant. Lovely, lovely poem. Thank you so much, Martin.
My pleasure.
So, and it's just what I've come to expect of you, to be perfectly honest.
Thank you.
Wonderful poetry. And I gather that, oh, Rosie's just joined us and missed the poem, but Rosie, do listen afterwards because it was beautiful. Another of Martin's stunning poems. So do listen. Great to have you with us. So I'm just going to take the painting off the screen for the moment because some other of Martin's wonderful poetry is now in print and going to be in print as well in another publication. So would you like to tell us about those, Martin?
Yeah, well, through my hill walking, I've visited a few bothies in the past, and one of the bothies, Ben Alder Cottage, I wrote a poem about it and sent it to the Bothy associations, and they actually published it in one of the I think it's the latest newsletter, and I was quite pleased with that. It's a reputedly haunted bothy. So the first part of it is basically the ghost story of this reputed haunting, and the second part is a true story about a family that lived in the cottage in the 1920s, and the father took pneumonia during the winter, and I think the daughter was about 10 or 12, and she had to do a really long cross-country journey in the height of winter to alert a doctor and get the doctor back to the bothy or the house to look after the father. So it's quite nice to see that in print. So,
yes, great.
Yeah, quite pleased with that.
And congratulations.
Thank you. And also, I sent poems to, if you can see that, the Last Stanza Poetry Journal.
Yes.
It's an American publication, and they've taken 2 of the poems that I've written in the last year, and they're in that. That's the latest issue that's just come out, which can be bought in Kindle or Amazon, either in e-form or paper form. But it's quite nice to see. It's quite nice to get that validation that people do like your poems and get them published and see them in print. So quite pleasing.
Rosie says she remembers that poem, and Chris says, "Well done, Martin." So
thank you.
Lovely.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah. Thanks, Rosie.
But I think that's not all, is it? I mean, now that you're not only a published poet, but an internationally published poet.
Well, I suppose you could say that. That's
well, absolutely, and you should. But I believe there's another very worthwhile book coming out as well.
Yeah, there's a book that's been published. It's going to be published shortly, and it's for a fundraiser for Parkinson's, and I've got 4 poems in that publication, and that's another. It's I think it's a UK publisher, but there's poems basically from all over the world going to be in that.
Yeah.
And it's quite close to the heart because our father, he died about 3 years ago, and actually it was Parkinson's that took him. Although he was older when he got it. It was still quite a devastating disease to get, even in that late in life. So it's quite nice to. Well, it's. I mean, he had a long life before he got it, which was great. But it's quite nice to put something into fundraising for that disease, which can be quite debilitating. It's for people suffering from it.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that coming out.
Yes, and any ideas when it's likely to be out?
Well, I can't remember the title, but the front cover's out, and so it must be quite close to ready for going out. So, but I'll let you know as soon as I know.
Yes, and do put something in the comments as well when you
Yes, I
know,
will do. Yeah, I
and
will
then
do.
people can see that as well, and alert me, and I can share it for you as
Yeah, that'd
well.
be
So
nice. Aye.
it
Yep.
is, as you say, such a good cause as well.
Yeah.
And if even if just sharing it can help to raise more money for them, that would be brilliant. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
yeah. So I said while you were getting your glasses, which didn't seem to
No, I didn't
materialize.
find them, but I managed to read it.
You did, brilliant. I was saying that this painting is actually in acrylics, which is not my normal medium, but I do enjoy using them sometimes. And I don't get on so well with knives with acrylics, so I use brushes for this one. And for anybody that's seen my painting knives before, I apologise. Hope you won't get too bored seeing them again. But when I say I use knives for painting, they do look this sort of thing. So these ones keep your hand away from the paint underneath when you're painting, and they come in different sizes, different, some more pointed than others, some longer, and then there's also all sorts of shapes. Oh, this is my favorite, by the way. I should be most upset when that one breaks, as it probably will eventually. I think the metal gets fatigue on the blade because they're quite flexible. So you get other ones that are square or angled, and you even get some that are quite flat, but you can still avoid putting your hand in the paint because you use the surface at the bottom there, or the little surface for little lines. And sometimes I even use things like rubber brushes, which act a bit like a knife, so they're reasonably flexible, and you can use those for putting the paint on, moving it about, making lines in it, scraping it back, and they come in all different sizes as well. So that's just a little thing about my tools that I use for painting. And for anybody that doesn't know, acrylics are water-based, and so they'll dry quite quickly. They dry by evaporation. So unless it's a really humid day or it's really cold, they'll dry quite quickly, and you can work on top without moving the paint, because once they dry, they're permanent and they don't shift. So that's really useful, and sometimes it can be a bit of a pain, because with the oils, on the other hand, like this one, I can put the paint on and it'll stay workable for at least hours. Some colors will stay workable for days because the pigments dry at different rates on some colors. But that gives me time to put some paint on, and with a knife to sort of move it around a bit, maybe blend some bits, maybe even scrape some paint off in an area if it's getting a bit too thick or I just didn't like what I'd done. And even though it's wet, especially with a knife, it's quite easy to pick up a good amount of paint on the blade and actually put it onto the top of the wet paint without moving what's underneath. You just get used to doing these things, like with any sort of thing like that. So for me, I really like that ability to be able to move the paint about if I want to, and also create some really lovely texture, which with acrylics you can have texture, but you normally need to add some special texture paste to the paint to give it that extra body. So there we are. If anybody's looking at acrylics versus oils, acrylics, the artist quality, they have the same pigments in as artist oils or artist watercolors or pastels, anything like that. It's the medium in which those pigments are presented to you. So with acrylic, it's an acrylic polymer. With oils, as the word sounds, it is pigment that's been milled in an oil, and so that's the difference there. And it's the drying time. So acrylics,
Yeah.
they're great because they dry really quickly, and they're horrid sometimes because they dry really quickly.
Too
So
quick.
it's a blessing and a curse
Yeah.
in both, but it depends on the way that you want to work. Whereas
Yeah.
oils do take longer to dry. I've got a lemon yellow that literally takes about 3 weeks to dry properly if there's any quantity of paint on there. So yeah, so that is a little bit excessive drying time, but
Yeah.
I do prefer the longer drying time overall, to be honest, for me. But acrylics have their place as well. I do enjoy using them sometimes, and there are many wonderful painters out there that just use acrylics and do marvelous things with them. The same as, whichever medium, when somebody becomes good at it, they make it look so easy and wonderful. And then, you start on a new medium you haven't used before, and it's fun and it can be great to try it. But you think, well, I know how this should look, but it's not doing what I want,
Yeah.
And it is just getting used to it in practice. And, I suppose it's a bit like poetry as well. I know when I started writing the poems, I knew what I was trying to get across. And I suppose after, more practice, it becomes easier to say things how you want to. Have you found that, Martin? Because you're relatively new to poetry as well, aren't you? So
yes, I've just over a year I've been writing poetry. Yeah, I find that you develop a sort of style that makes it easier to get across what you're trying to say in the poem.
mm,
And I think the challenge going forward for me is to maybe try and widen the type of poetry that I write. But at the moment, I've got this. I've got a style I'm comfortable with and quite enjoy the sort of the way that I sort of construct the poems. And yeah, I would like to maybe sort of broaden the styles that I use, which would be quite interesting as well.
And it may be like with painting, using another medium occasionally, it sort of refreshes you, and you may not stick with that. You might try a different
Yeah, that's
poetry
right.
style and think, well, it was fun and I've done it, but I've done it. I
Yeah,
like
that's right.
why not? But come back to it with just maybe other angles on it,
Yeah,
or just other ideas.
yeah,
Each
absolutely.
feeding
Yeah,
the
that's
other.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I gather you were affected by the storms last weekend up
yes,
there in Scotland as
we
well.
get well. We'd no electricity for nearly the whole of Saturday and for a good long bit of Monday. And in fact, I'd booked to go to an open mic session in Greenock, which is just across the water from me, but had to cancel because the ferries were off, and it was too risky
Mm,
to even if they'd come back on. I wasn't keen to risk going over and get stuck, sort of thing.
yes,
So
yeah,
I just had to cancel it. But
yeah,
it's a new one. It's going to be on every month, so I'll get another opportunity to go over.
good,
But
good.
it coincided with Burns. It was Robert Burns' night
Ah,
just before it, so I had a
yeah.
Burns poem ready. So
Oh,
hopefully I'll get a chance to get reading it before we're out of the Burns season. But
yes, yeah. Oh,
that was the poem I was looking forward to reading. But
fingers crossed for you.
yeah,
By the way, Rosie is saying she can't believe you've only been writing poems for a year. I
yeah,
agree with you, Rosie. Absolutely. It's,
aye,
it's the poetry is just absolutely stunning. Thank you, Martin.
thank
So
you.
yeah, it's these storms. We were lucky down south here. We just had a couple of windy days, and that was it
I
really.
know,
Whereas
lucky you.
yes, yes, and there are a lot of people affected badly by them up there, and
Yeah, I
some
know.
people killed by falling trees, and
Yeah, it's
goodness
sad.
knows, just very sad indeed. But
Yeah.
you know,
Well, we weren't that bad, but it's. I suppose it's more inconvenient when you put it in context.
mm,
We were
mm,
we were inconvenienced more than anything.
yeah. Oh, Chris says he thought he'd misheard about only writing for a year. Amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know. it's, you know, the way that you write, it sounds to me as though you could have been writing for all of your life. You know, they're just beautiful poems. So
Well,
I
thank
keep
you.
saying that, but that's true. That's the way I feel. They're just beautiful poems. So thank you. Yeah, these storms again. It's comes back to climate change, I think, as well,
Yeah, I
doesn't it?
suppose.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
another
just
reminder of how
yes,
we need to look after things, maybe change
absolutely.
how we view things.
Yeah,
But
and
I
if
say,
everybody did, sorry. Go on.
I mean, it's. I think if you look back, we've had these storms in the past, but it's the frequency and
Mm,
the close proximity to each storm. That's the
mm,
worry. I mean,
yes,
it's like even when I was young, there was a tremendous storm, 1968. But it's maybe a decade before you get another storm of that ferocity. Whereas
mm,
now you're maybe getting two or three in a storm, a sort of winter
yes,
that are of the same sort of strength, and you really need to think,
mm,
well, what are we doing
yeah,
to result in
yeah,
that sort of situation? That,
absolutely. I think, you know, if we can all do little bits, it
yeah,
must add
that's
up
right.
to a lot, mustn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's
encourage
right.
everybody to recycle, reuse,
Yeah,
stop using plastic wherever possible. So,
yeah.
but yeah, but I've got something to tell people as well at the moment, and that is I'm going to have some limited edition prints done,
Oh, nice.
and I had some proofs done, small ones. So that's one of them, which I've already got an order for one of these. It'll be bigger because it's about a foot square, and it'll then have a white border around the actual print so that it can be signed and numbered as well. But I think they've come out. I know these are only proofs. This one's going to be bigger when it's finished. They'll be, I think, 50 by 50
Right.
centimeters. So with a border again, and I think they've come out really, really well.
Ah, it looks
Really
nice.
pleased. Yeah, the printing
Oh,
has
nice. Yeah,
been done really well. So
yeah.
I'm looking at maybe. I think that there's a couple of others I was thinking of as well. But if anybody's got any suggestions from seeing my paintings on these shows or just on Facebook and would like to suggest which paintings they think would be make the best prints as well, I'd be very interested to hear from you. So always nice to know what people think.
Yeah.
So I say
I'll revisit the website and have a look. But,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
And so I'm doing an art fair later in the year in September down at Sandown in Surrey here. So I shall have some limited edition prints ready for that as well.
Oh, good.
So
Aye.
oh, Christmassy
Ideal.
loves the little cards. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. So, so that's another little venture. The book research is progressing.
Yeah.
Not there yet at deciding exactly how it's going to be printed and published, but making some headway with that anyway. As a complete novice at book publication, it's very interesting and a bit of a minefield as well, trying to work out exactly what to do for the best.
Yeah.
And it's lovely that so many people are being really helpful and giving me ideas and suggestions and passing on contact information as well.
Ah,
So
brilliant.
I've I've still got a few more contacts to follow up on that
Right.
some of my other poets have given me as well, and they've been
Yeah.
very, very helpful. So it will happen, but
Excellent.
it's going to take a little bit of time yet to get that
Well,
moving.
something to look forward to, seeing that
Yes, yeah,
come to
yeah.
fruition.
It's exciting, but a little bit
Yeah.
nerve-wracking at the same
Aye.
time. Just trying to get I want it to be right,
Yeah.
and it'll be waiting for that first copy to arrive, that first proof to see what it's like, and yes,
I'm sure it'll be smashing. It's quite a
well,
great, a nice concept. The mix of the poetry with the sort of paintings. I think it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
great
and
idea. and
And all
worth
the
doing.
different poems from yourself and all my other poets that have been on the show. Calling them my poets. I mean, you don't belong to me. I just like to think of you as my poets, you know.
Yeah.
So lots of different styles and
Yeah, that's right.
approaches, which I think is really interesting, rather than having, you know, a book with just one style of poetry in it. There's
Yeah,
lots of different approaches and you know, the feeling of that's been conveyed in a lot of these
yeah,
poems as well, that they're so evocative, and that's what I love about them, and so different from each other, and
yeah,
they're different from my poems for the same painting, and yes, it's
yeah.
exciting. So
Aye, absolutely. Yeah,
it'll be
it's quite a thing to think of all those different styles and all together and accessible, that you can look at the different poems and look at the
yes,
different way people sort of see the paintings and sort of reflect their sort of take
mm,
on it. So,
yeah.
it'll be worth seeing, I think.
It really makes, you know, brings it home that one person sees one thing in a painting and someone else sees something often quite
Absolutely.
different,
Yep.
which is obviously why some paintings appeal to some of us and other paintings to other people. So,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know,
That's right.
yeah, just a different,
Aye.
not just the style, but the actual subject matter, and you know, it's just everything, isn't it? You know, that all comes
Aye.
together, and it either resonates with you or it doesn't.
Well,
So,
that's right. It's very subjective. I
yeah.
think poetry and uh,
Mm,
sort of art is so subjective that that you can get people that love one style of painting
mm,
and are cold to other styles, and it's the same with poetry. And it's
yes, yeah.
so you learn to realise that even people that like poetry won't necessarily like your style of poetry, and
Mm,
you know
yes, yeah.
it's nothing wrong with your poems. It's just
It's
the
nothing
way they
personal.
hear. No, that's
Mm,
right. That's
no.
right.
And goodness sake, wouldn't it be boring if everybody liked the
Well,
same
that's right.
thing?
Absolutely.
That would be so
Terrible.
boring. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm all for a bit of variety and
Yes, indeed.
yeah, yeah. So I think we're almost getting to the end of our time tonight, which has flown by again. So anything else that you've thought of that you'd like to tell us, Martin? Anything
Uh,
happening?
fact, no, I've just got a few open mics coming, which I quite enjoy,
Yeah.
and it's a mix between Zoom and live audience, which is
Mm.
it's quite good. It's funnily enough, it's I think doing these shows has has helped give me the confidence to go in front of a group. I don't.
Brilliant.
It's not something that I would have in the past thought I would have been happy doing, but
Mm.
I must admit I feel quite comfortable actually doing my
Excellent.
poems
Oh, that's
to even
lovely.
live audience,
Yeah,
which is
brilliant.
nice. So
Oh, Rosie says, thanks again, Fiona and Martin. And she's going to her first folk club tonight.
oh,
Hope
nice,
you
nice,
and see you again soon. So lovely. Thanks for watching, Rosie, and commenting. And I hope you enjoy folk club. It'll be
absolutely,
good fun. Because
yeah,
I used to go to a folk club many years ago now. It's a long time since I've been, but it was really good fun, especially if you know some of the songs and can join in.
yeah, that's
So
right. Right,
yeah, yeah. Oh, have a
brilliant.
super time. Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Martin, and hopefully you will do me the honour of allowing me to put your poem on Facebook with my painting in the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be lovely. Thank you. And I look forward to having you back on the show again soon.
Yeah, that'd be great, Fiona. Thoroughly enjoyed
Great.
tonight.
Lovely. Well,
Thanks for
thanks
having me.
everybody. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and thank you for writing such a super poem. And thanks everybody for watching, whether you're watching live or on replay. Been great to have you along. And do feel free to put some comments up. It's always lovely to hear from people. So take care, everybody. And I'll be back next Wednesday again, 7 o'clock UK time, with another amazing guest. So, oh, thanks to you both. Really good, said Chris. Thanks very much for watching, Chris. And we look forward to seeing everybody again next week. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Right, bye now. Bye,
Bye.
Fiona.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Martin.